You told me your hours, 200, 400, 1700 on a 2003, still on its original impeller. And almost all of you added the same 3 words, still running strong. The parts that kill outboards don't wear out while you're running them. They age out while you're not, 10 of them, counting down. Habit number 10 is the one your hour meter is most wrong about. Your water pump impeller is a rubber wheel with flexible vanes, and it moves every drop of cooling water your engine gets. Most owners replace it on hours, every 100, every 300, whenever the manual says. But here's what almost nobody tells you. An impeller doesn't only wear from spinning, it takes a compression set from sitting still. Those vanes sit bent against the housing wall, and if you park the engine for a winter, they stay bent. Park it for 3 winters, and they stop springing back at all. I've seen impellers pulled at 125 hours that were 5 years old and already too stiff to prime on a cold spring start. No cracks, no missing vanes, just rubber that had forgotten its own shape. That's why the professional standard is annual replacement, not hourly. Once per season, regardless of what the clock says. And a degraded impeller will still push a telltale stream while moving nowhere near enough water to cool the engine under load, which is exactly why looking at it tells you less than you think. A water pump kit runs about $60. Lose cooling flow at wide open throttle, and an outboard can overheat and seize in under 2 minutes. That's a $3,000 power head. The math is simple, but a fresh impeller won't help you if the metal it's cooling has been quietly dissolving all winter. Habit number 9 is about anodes, and this one catches careful owners more than careless ones. You already know the rule. Replace them at 50%. Here's what that rule misses. An anode can fail without wearing at all. Zinc in low conductivity water forms an insulating oxide film over itself. The industry word is passivation, and a passivated anode looks perfect. Full size, barely touched, doing absolutely nothing. I've had owners show me anodes they were proud of. 3 seasons in, fresh water, hardly any wear. That's not good news. That means no current was flowing, which means the lower unit was the thing corroding instead. And it gets worse the longer a boat sits. Movement puts demand on an anode and reactivates it. A boat on a lift for 11 months puts no demand on anything. So here's the rule that actually works. In fresh water, run magnesium, not zinc. In salt and brackish, zinc or aluminum. And judge them by surface, not by size. Dull, crusted, or glazed over means replace it, even at 90% remaining. A full anode set is one of the cheapest parts on the engine. The lower unit housing it protects is one of the most expensive castings you can be asked to replace. Never paint them, and never let paint, corrosion buildup, or a loose fit break the metal-to-metal contact. Because without that path, the anode does nothing, no matter how new it is. Now, here's the part of that same system almost no owner has ever laid eyes on. Habit number 8 is about the anodes inside your engine. Not the trim tab, not the bracket bar, the ones bolted into the cooling passages of the block itself. Most Yamaha 4-strokes carry 4 to 6 internal anodes in the crankcase and cylinder head. Larger Suzukis have them too. They sit in the hottest, saltiest water in the entire engine, and they are the only thing standing between salt water and your cylinder head jackets. On older engines, you had to pull the head to reach them, so almost nobody did. On modern engines, most of them come out with 1 or 2 small bolts. I have opened covers on 20-year-old saltwater engines where the internal anode was simply gone, and the owner had never heard the words.
And while you're in there, replace the grommet or O-ring that seals the anode against the block. That $2 piece of rubber is what keeps cooling water inside the engine. When it fails, you get water in the cowling, corrosion on the outside of the block, and a loss of cooling flow that reads exactly like a bad water pump. Check them annually, not by hours. And if those passages are already packed with salt, the way you flush is about to matter far more than whether you flush. Habit number 7 is the argument that splits every dock in America. Your engine has a flush port on the cowling. Hose in, water on, walk away, engine off. Simple. And on some engines, incomplete. Here's the mechanism. With the engine off, your thermostat is closed. The only water getting past it is what squeezes through 3 small indents machined into the thermostat's sealing face. That is a trickle. The main cooling channels get rinsed. The cylinder head jackets, where salt actually cements itself, get almost nothing. Run it on muffs instead, and the engine reaches temperature, the thermostat opens, and fresh water finally circulates through the whole system, including the pump housing. But muffs have their own trap: weak water pressure, and you're running an impeller with less water than it needs. So do it properly. Engine vertical, in neutral, propeller removed. Turn the water on until it's leaking out around the rubber cups before you start it. Fast idle only, 8 to 900 RPM maximum, 15 minutes. Then watch the telltale the entire time. Flush port when you're in a hurry, muffs when it counts. And if you've been arguing about this with someone at the ramp for years, you were probably both half right. But cooling isn't the only system running on a calendar you're not watching. Habit number 6 is about fuel, and this is where the low-hour owner gets punished hardest. You've heard that ethanol destroys outboards. Then a guy tells you he ran pump E10 for 20 years and 2,200 hours and pulled perfect compression when he sold the engine. Both things are true, and the reason is the part nobody says out loud. It isn't ethanol that kills engines. It's stale ethanol. That man burned 110 hours a year. His fuel never sat long enough to matter. E10 starts degrading within about 30 days in your tank. By 60 days, you're risking phase separation, where the ethanol bonds with absorbed water and sinks straight to the bottom, exactly where your pickup draws from. So run 30 hours a season, and every tank you burn is already old before it reaches your injectors. That's the whole difference. The charter boat and the weekend boat put the same fuel in the same engine, and only one of them burns it while it's still fuel. And if you can't buy ethanol free within 100 miles of home, you don't get to opt out of E10. You only get to control how long it sits. Stabilizer at every fill-up, not just at layup. Fill the tank to minimize the airspace where moisture collects. And if the fuel in there is older than 60 days, or you simply don't know its age, do not top it off with fresh. Drain it. Now, the fuel itself is only half of that system. The other half has a birth date printed on it. Habit number 5 is your hoses. Not the engine, not the tank, the rubber in between, and every gasket and O-ring attached to it. Ethanol is a solvent. It attacks hose liners from the inside, and the inner layers separate, break off, and travel downstream as debris that clogs filters and injectors. I have pulled fuel pumps apart and found tiny black flecks of hose sitting in front of the inlet on engines with 200 hours on them. The owner was chasing a fuel pump problem. He had a hose problem. Boat US puts it plainly. Any fuel hose older than 10 years should be replaced, and fill gaskets and O-rings should be swapped every few years. On E10, lean toward 5 to 7 years. Here's the part almost nobody knows. Marine hose has a manufacture date stamped in the printed stripe. Go find it. If it's older than you'd like, that's your answer, and no hour count changes it. And when you replace it, use hose that carries a marine rating, not something from the auto parts store. That marking isn't paperwork. It's a fire rating and a permeation rating. And a fuel hose in a boat is safety equipment before it's ever a maintenance item. But debris downstream is a symptom. Habit number 4 is what's growing inside your fuel system while the boat sits. Ethanol leaves varnish and gum deposits behind, and that residue is the #1 cause of carburetor and injector problems today. Not wear, not hours, deposits. On a carbureted engine, the fuel left standing in the bowls oxidizes into a hard lacquer that glazes the tiny metering passages. On an injected engine, it coats the injector tips and skews the spray pattern. Meanwhile, every rubber part in the system is hardening on its own schedule. Gaskets, O-rings, diaphragms, needle valve seats, they get brittle from age and fuel exposure, then break off in pieces and clog the very passages they were sealing. This is why an engine that sat 2 winters runs worse than an identical engine with triple the hours. Here's the fix, and it's the cheapest thing in this entire video. Run the engine on a flush adapter for 15 to 20 minutes, at least once a month. Not to load it, to circulate fuel, move the seals, and keep the passages wet. Before real storage, fog the cylinders and run the fuel system dry on a carbureted engine. Now, here's the failure that costs the most and takes the least effort to prevent. Habit number 3 is your trim and tilt system. And Yamaha publishes the warning themselves. Leave the engine trimmed up for a prolonged period, or store it that way, and corrosion adheres to the ram tubes. When those rams finally retract, that corrosion drags across the seals and cuts them. In the worst cases, the unit locks tight. Think about what that means. The damage isn't done by using the trim, it's done by not using it, in the exact position most people leave it. And the first symptom is a motor that slowly sags out of trim overnight. Check the hydraulic reservoir. Hydraulic fluid does not evaporate. A low level means fluid is escaping somewhere, and the rams are where it usually goes. So grease the rams and the tilt tube annually. Store the engine trim down whenever you can, and cycle it fully every few weeks, even in the driveway. And clean the trim motor and its connections, because corrosion at those electrical connections is one of the most common trim failures in saltwater. Seal kits are cheap. A locked trim unit is not. Habit number 2 is the single most likely reason your season starts with a tow instead of a trip: your battery. Dead batteries account for roughly 9% of all tow calls, and towing operators will tell you battery problems are their second largest springtime call, even on brand new boats. And here's the wrinkle nobody mentions. Modern 4-strokes draw substantially more cranking amperage than the 2-strokes they replaced. So a battery that would have started an engine 15 years ago won't start yours today. The mechanism is called sulfation. Every time a battery sits partially discharged, lead sulfate crystals build on the plates, and that damage is permanent. It doesn't fully recover on the next charge. 4 months of winter storage without a maintainer takes a real, measurable bite out of capacity that never comes back. And a weak battery makes your engine crank slowly, which means longer cranking, which is its own wear on the starter and the rings. So put a marine trickle charger on it through the entire off-season. Test the battery at the start of every season instead of assuming, and replace it every 3 to 5 years by the calendar, not when it finally strands you. Now, we've counted down 9.
The last one is the one that reframes everything else in this video, and it comes straight out of Yamaha's own service reasoning. Habit number 1. Change your oil on the calendar, not on the hour meter. Your manual says 100 hours or 12 months, whichever comes first. Most owners read the 100 and ignore the 12. Yamaha spells out why the 12 months exists. Annual service reduces the harmful effects of the normal deterioration that happens to motor oil, gear lube, and water pump impellers regardless of use. And motor oil turns acidic as it becomes contaminated with combustion byproducts. Acid doesn't care how many hours are on the clock. It sits against your bearings and your cylinder walls for months. And it's worse for you than for the commercial guy, because oil needs to reach roughly 212 degrees to boil the moisture out of it. A short run to the sandbar and back never gets there. So the water stays, mixes with the acid, and works on the metal all winter. Yamaha's dealers say it flatly: the customers who put minimal hours on their boats each year are the ones who get burned. 50 hours or once a season, whichever comes first. And use FCW marine oil every time. Your hour meter lies, the calendar doesn't. Subscribe and go check what's aging while you're not looking.